Alright, so now we've got our data in here. We can then, alright, so now we've got our data, we can go and calculate the mean, standard deviation and standard error of the mean. Alright, so to do mean, firstly we put in an equal sign to show Excel that we're doing a formula, and then in mean in Excel is average, so we just double click on average, and then we're going to highlight the cells that we want to include, and then close the brackets, press enter. Now we can now just copy that across by pressing on this little square here and dragging across, and that means that the same formula is copied all the way across. Now I'm going to just reduce the number of decimal places, okay, and so I'm just going to reduce the number of decimal places down, okay. Now standard deviation, again this is built into Excel, press equals, std, now we're going to do .s for sample, and again we're going to highlight these cells but don't include the mean, press enter, and again we can drag that along, and that is going to be standard deviation for each of them. And now standard error of the mean. Look, with small sample sizes, standard error of the mean tends to be better because it takes into consideration that small sample size, and the formula is this: standard deviation divided by the square root, which is SQRT, and then we just select that, and we're going to work out the square root of the sample size, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Square root of 5 equals. Okay, so that reduces the size of that, which is quite nice. Okay, now we have got continuous variables of 1% all the way through to 5%, and we're not going to include the x and y on our graph. So importantly, we need to continually tell our students that we only want to make a graph of the means, but we do want these labels. So on a Mac, I'm going to highlight those and then press Command, and on a PC it's Control. So keep holding that down as then you then highlight the means, just the means, and then we go up and insert recommended chart. Now we actually want a line graph because this is a continuous variable. So then we've got our line graph. Now students will then need to add labels, axis labels, but what I'm just going to show you how to do now is just add standard error of the mean error bars. Now this is quite a process but worthwhile. Okay, so on a Mac you're going to go and just click on the click on the graph, and then click chart design, add elements, error bars, more error bars, custom, specify value, and the value we're going to use is the standard error of the means. Just the standard error of the mean for both the negative and the positive error value. And then we press OK, and you'll see that we now have error bars. Now with a PC, when you click on the graph you'll have a plus up here, and that makes it easier to find the error bars. Okay, so just so you know, just to add the axis title, we can go to chart design, add chart elements, and then we can add our axis titles for the horizontal and vertical. And you can go ahead and edit this title as well, which needs to relate to both the independent and dependent variable. Just while we're looking at error bars, so what does this mean? Well, we're talking about the size of the error bars, and this tells us about how much variation there is. And in this particular case, larger error bars might mean low validity, some errors in our results. So if we have a look, we've got a very small error bar for 1% and 3%, but you might say moderate size for 2 and 5, and large error bars for 4. So what might be worth doing for the students is to actually have a look at, well, why are these error bars for 4 so large? We can have a look at 4 here, and you can see this group, they found 168 seconds for 4%, and that was much higher than the others. So that's what has given us such a skew of the data. And I wonder if maybe it's because the others were done online. But that's the sort of thing we want our students to be looking at in terms of their identification of sources of error related to validity and reliability.